Professor Wilson and I are back here again in
Can I?
You gonna hit me?
Please, sir. Can I do the introduction?
Why?
Good afternoon.
It's my vlog.
Do you know what it is? Because I'm sick of we do about 5 takes, which last a minute, and it's always the same thing, which is so we're here in Kuala Lumpur with Professor Wilson. So I quite like to just do one, and I want to ask you some questions, right?
Well, hold on. We need to, let's give the place some respect. The lovely owners, where we're at, give them some context of what's going on.
Okay, so just to fuel...
So that's what I do. So you go ahead and do it. You're the freestyle musician. Let's do it. Go ahead.
I'm here.
He plays bass. So this guy jam sessions all day. He knows how to do it. So jam session. Go ahead. Lay out the context.
I'm here with anchorman Mohamed Burgundy, vlogging beast in Kuala Lumpur.
Why are we in Kuala Lumpur?
You tell me.
So we're in Kuala Lumpur speaking at the Muslim Biz OIC conference. We were flown in. I was coming from Italy. We were coming from Londonistan.
Londonistan.
And we're speaking on the power of building brands and OIC. Is it the Organization of Islamic Countries or is it Coalition or something like that?
Yeah.
My bad. So we're here in Muku Cafe. Our beloved brother Aman owns this place, and he has allowed us to take a little corner of the cafe, turn down the music for us, told people to go outside, and we're doing our thing. So I laid the context. That's how you do it. Next time you can do it, but that's what you need to do.
So before I start, I just want to big up this T-shirt that I bought in Londonistan in Brick Lane.
Brick Lane. Hey, if you've been to London and you haven't been to Brick Lane, you've been missing out. I didn't go to Brick Lane until this last visit.
So the reason I'm doing it is just in case you're watching the video thinking, why has he got a colon on his chest, or it looks, if you don't see the full picture, it looks like someone's kind of innards or something. But that's not the purpose of the vlog, to talk about people's body parts.
Why do you got intestines on your shirt? Anyway,
but I got this obsession with kind of pink things at the minute, and so it's a flamingo, it's pink. I've got
Stan Smith, we need
salmon
an endorsement.
Trainers
that ain't
on
salmon pink. That's like
I need
hot
some
pink.
free clothes, right? I want to go sick of horn.
That's not salmon pink, dude.
What is it?
That's hot pink. That's like pink. That's not
1980s hot pink. Okay, so anyway, right.
Okay, I'll let you take it. I'm sorry, I just had to lay the context.
I want to talk about Trailblazing, right? And the reason I want to talk about Trailblazing is because Jay-Z's album came out. Something else just dropped, right?
That's fine.
Some cups dropped and the album dropped too. So Jay-Z dropped his album this year.
444.
Yeah. And I love that album, and I also love the album because, as if by coincidence or whatever, the album cover is the same color as my logo, so I've got to love it, right? That cantaloupe pink. But the thing that we were talking about with regards to Trailblazing is, this is a guy who, how old is he?
I think he's 47.
All right. So kind of in the hip hop era, which is it's about 40 years old now, right? It's like
1973, 72.
Google tells you
DJ Kool Herc,
exactly, the first turntable thing going on, right? But Jay-Z's entered kind of a new era. When we think about artists, and there's a lot of artists coming back. Like last week, I just downloaded the Living Colours album, which I think is fat.
In Living Colour, the TV show?
No, not in Living Colours. Living Colour, like Corey Glover, Vernon Reid, like Doug Wimbish, like Will Calhoun, like
wow, that's
Black
early
Rock,
90s, man.
Like Cult of Personality.
Cult of Personality. Yeah, that was a big song.
But as much as I love the Living Colour album, right, it's difficult for them to trailblaze because they're in the rock era, right? And if we think about someone like Jay-Z and hip hop, which is new.
Wait, hold on. Jimi Hendrix was a trailblazer.
Right.
Eric Clapton was a trailblazer.
Right.
Like, you don't want to go down you're a bassist, so I don't understand what you're saying.
The thing that I'm saying is, I love Living Colour.
Okay.
Their first album put them on the map.
Of course.
Yeah. And my favourite track, probably of all Living Colour tracks, is Cult of Personality. Of course. And I think it's not impossible for them to top that, right? But now, if we look at someone like Jay-Z...
It's not impossible, or it's impossible?
I think it's impossible, man. They just
sometimes, that's what you call the sophomore jinx, and you really, it's hard, dude. You have to be a GOAT.
Okay, so with Jay-Z, right?
Okay.
20-year anniversary last year.
That's true,
yeah?
Man.
He's pumped out albums, right? And we don't think of Jay-Z in that way. Each album has made a statement. And if we look at this recent album this year, where other people it's almost like with a rapper, the curse is the richer you get, the whacker you get when it comes to spitting lyrics.
I think that's life. I think the more you become comfortable, right?
So
Roy Jones Jr.
How has he come out with, like, you know? I mean, if I pick one track off the album,
not knocking Roy Jones
like,
Jr. because he could knock me out.
The Story of OJ, right? Dark video. Yeah.
I didn't think of it as a dark video.
You know, he's got.
I didn't think of it as a dark.
But it's got like a stereotypical racist depiction of a black person, right?
But the whole song was about stereotypes, and it was it was supposed to be in your face.
Okay, but the thing for me is this, right? If anybody else, if this was the start of his career, if 20 years ago he'd come out with that song, it would be an underground kind of hit, right?
A backpacker.
But 20 years later, when you're on top of your game, you've made all your money, you know, you're now like talking on business programs about being an entrepreneur and everything. And I'm going to ask you about entrepreneurship later, right? It's significant because he's basically saying after all those 20 years, nothing has changed. It's not like an underground classic where it's like, no one has given me any love, I'm trying to get on the map, and there are no opportunities for me, I'm disenfranchised.
Okay.
He has been franchised, right?
Yeah.
And he is saying this very simple message, but in a very powerful way, right? And in doing so, I think this album is kind of deep because he's tackling a lot of issues where rappers haven't gone into this dimension.
So I'm waiting for a question, or are you just talking?
Look,
so I'm like sort of confused because you said I'm going to ask you, and then you just went into like 7 minutes. I don't know what's going on. If you want to, like, we can start a conversation, we can. But I'm sort of.
Americans don't like.
No, I just don't know what's going on. No, I like it. I like the monologue.
So the thing is, right? I'm setting the scene with Jay-Z.
Okay.
And I'm doing it because
and the concept of trailblazing.
And I purposely picked Jay-Z because I didn't want this to be another business vlog where they say, look at this kind of Zuckerberg character and look at this Steve Jobs thing. I'm kind of tired of listening about those videos. But from a business perspective, what could people take home? Not Jay-Z's making money, but I mean the creative aspect of what he's done, the concept albums where each time he's come out with an album, which is a statement, right? His corpus.
Yeah.
So how do business people learn or apply that, or can it be done? Like in terms of like becoming a trailblazer in the business arena?
What's interesting about Jay-Z, he's 47, and he's actually blazing a trail, not to stay away from that trite word, but blazing a trail because...
Tracing a blade.
He's blazing a trail because no rapper has been rapping at 47 and has been at the top of their game. Never in the history, because hip hop is growing, and this is like the first class. No, the first class was Rakim, Eric B and Rakim, Guru, but even before that was Sugar Hill Gang. You have all these guys who really, literally paved all the way, Stetsasonic, those groups that were early 80s, Cool Herc, Red Alert, and then you have these guys who actually, I think at the end of KRS-One is the beginning of where people actually start making money, because these are hustlers. These are guys who are drug dealers. These are guys who understand money and how to make money, and they know value, they recognize systems, they know how to create systems and how to make money without them being involved. That's why they come into the game understanding it, unlike a lot of the other backpacker rappers or conscious rappers who were just doing it for the art. So blazing a trail, I think is very interesting when I think of it, because no one's doing it and he's doing it well. The way that I see it in business, just coming off the top of my head right now, when you're blazing a trail, you could look foolish and crazy because no one's ever done it. What's interesting about Jay-Z, when you're talking right now, I just started thinking about, as they say in design, evolution, evolution, revolution, evolution, evolution, revolution. Because that's what you need to stay fresh.
Yeah.
And I feel that with Jay-Z, with his body of work, you have AG, right? American Gangster. You have these albums, The Blueprint, Reasonable Doubt, and there's just ones that are not good. And I think with Steve Jobs and with other people, it's because they have such a body of work that if they decide to fail and fall off at one part, it's fine, because you overlook it, because you recognize what they have and what they're made of. It's just like having a wife, right? Being with someone for a very long time, in the sense that if you were on your first date, and no, hold on, and you were your first date.
I was just wondering where that was going.
No, because it's just when you've established something. If you on your first date,
you said body of work, then went to marriage. That was
no, because this is what I'm trying to tell you. You go on your first date, and the first time you go on your first date, like, she picks her nose in front of you. you don't ever want to see her again. Like, that's disgusting. But your wife of 15 years, if she picks it's whatever, because you have that 15 years together to be like, that's what she does.
My wife doesn't pick her nose, by the way.
But in terms of the works, Steve Jobs had a lot of failures.
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot, but Next was a failure. Oh, he sold it. But you think of all these different companies and different. Zuckerberg has failed in different things. Ford, they failed in different things. Okay. With Jay-Z, he's had his body of work that had failed. But in terms of 444, the idea of trailblazing, and in terms of how I'm going to tie, how I think I could tie this into business, is that when you are pushing yourself, because to me, some people are saying that it's his best album ever. Okay, which is crazy, because it's like what, his 13th or 14th album, and it's his best album ever. That's crazy.
So let's recap. So basically, what you're saying is, it's almost like having scales, right? On the balance, if you've got a significant body of work or corpus, it will tip in your favor if you've got more successes.
It has to be, okay, I'm with that, yeah.
And if it tips in your favor in terms of success, people will tend to overlook. They'll go light on the failures. Okay.
That's like I'm saying, like having a spouse, like with your wife or a girl you've been with or a guy you've been with for a long time. He does something weird in the 8th year. Yeah, it's not a problem. Okay. But you do it on the first date. It's like you already have a bad taste, and that's why people can set themselves up with the sophomore jinx. They do exceptionally well. Where you're talking about Living Color, Cult of Personality. It's like there's no way you can bounce back from that, and that's why a lot of artists become one-hit wonders. They come with a sophomore album that just flops. And that just shows you people, that's what they say. In business, they say, if do it the first time, lucky. Second time, good. So when you have people who just got it, they might suck the second or third, but fourth come back with something that just bangs.
See, by the way, I really like Living Color, but if I was to be honest, I think that I started to like them more as musicians. The first album, I think, are great songs.
Yeah.
And then, as a bass player, I really got into the musicianship, and I think in some respects they became like the musician's favorite band.
When did this come out?
What, the most recent album? Yeah. Man, it only dropped like about a week or so ago.
When was the last time they put something?
I'm not sure
Oh, I have something. Sade.
Okay.
Think about Sade. She's a Brit, right?
Yeah.
Sade is amazing to me.
Okay.
It's her, and I would venture to say Bob Marley.
Right.
Who I feel are artists that are sort of, what's the word? They're sort of free of blame and fault.
Okay.
Like when you speak of Sade, everyone's like, I love Sade.
Yeah.
And she has body of work. And she puts out an album, literally she says, when I feel like it.
Yeah.
So she might drop an album 9 years from now, and then have that drop another one 6 months after. Because she goes, I have a family, I have a life, and I do music whenever I want to do music. So in terms of In Living Color, or not In Living, the TV show, Living Color, I cut you off, but I wanted to ask you, when was the last time they did their last one before this one?
Do you know what? They fell off my radar, and I fell in love with it. I mean, first album was good, second album was not as good, third album they got a new bass player who's an awesome bass player, he's a great soloist, but I just felt that some of the songs weren't as kind of like, you know, they were more about musicianship than songs. So now if I go back to, you know, like if I pick you someone like David Bowie, right?
Yeah.
Another trailblazer.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, David Bowie.
And you know, you could say,
is it Bowie or Bowie? Because in America we say Bowie.
Whatever, man. I don't know. It's anything you want it to be.
He's good, man. He was good.
David Bowie. Right, so basically, right, with David Bowie, you could say that he was even more of a trailblazer because he completely changed his look.
Of course.
And he summed up different eras. So what about people like, you know, but he managed to do it with grace in the sense that he didn't flop people.
And I think that's with Jay-Z.
He didn't make a fool of himself, right? And a lot of people think that moving with the times actually takes them outside their comfort zone because if they're now appealing to this new, whatever they're called, Gen Z, Gen Y, generational stuff, then no one likes to see an old guy trying to act young or whatever. Was it mutton dressed as lamb?
But no, but see, that's interesting.
So they've escaped that because people still saw them as cool. The Jay-Z's, the David Bowies.
Look, I want to say, I have a statement comes to my head.
Okay.
Beware of the old man in a young man's sport.
Like Iggy Pop.
Iggy Pop, but let's stick to Jay-Z.
Body's still the same.
Yeah, but no.
Like heroin chic.
Hip-hop, it stems from poverty, inner city, this is what we're facing, started from nothing, going to the top. And what's he talking about now? Financial literacy?
Yeah.
He's talking about acquiring wealth. Look, I'm telling you guys to buy, you guys think I'm bougie buying painting, but that thing became 1 million to 2 million, 2 million to 4 million, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. I'm trying to tell you guys this.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I don't know if it's an evolution, but it's revolutionary because no rapper has ever, because it's sourced from being at the bottom of the barrel. And now it's talking about, look, gain some financial literacy.
Okay.
Build your credit. Just to tie it back, I think revolution is good, but see that's what when people say you got to think outside the box, I have a problem with that. Because when people actually start to think outside the box, they get criticized for it. How many albums do you know of where an artist decides to do something completely different and people are like, oh, he's terrible now? Kanye, why don't you do like your first like college dropout? Because a guy is trying to be an artist. Common does an album and it's like, oh, why don't you do like your old album? Like Jay-Z said, if you like my old stuff, buy it. Like, don't listen to my new stuff then.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about living color of musicianship, what do you mean by that? That they don't care about, they're just, I'm gonna do music to do music like a Sade?
No.
We're just gonna do whatever we want? Or is it, we need to make money, let's put something out? Like, I'm trying to understand what you meant by...
Okay, because you're not echoing like a preacher in this cafe.
I know.
Right. What I mean is that like some of the things they do appeal to musicians because there are kind of intricate drum patterns or bass lines or stuff where actually, you tip over the edge where it ceases, from my perspective, to become about a song and more about, let me just put in this lick here because I can do this lick.
Yeah.
And it's creative and innovative, but it's kind of judged differently than kind of just the entire song, which is what's the verse, what's the chorus, and what's the riff, right? So I think that they started to build songs slightly differently as their kind of...
And you don't like it?
I like it as a musician because it's good schooling for me. But in terms of kind of teenage angst and enjoyment, then Cult of Personality and Middleman, all of those.
Yeah, but they're what, 30 years removed from that. Dude. I think they're just trying to hit their core that grew up with them.
But rock is quite good because actually people never grow up in rock. They're just putting some ice in the cooler. Cult of Personality, the message is still as fresh now.
It is
right?
fresh, but
Sampling
you gotta remember that's what,
Malcolm
1990, 91?
Yeah.
That's early 90s, dude. That's sort of...
They were sampling Malcolm X and talking about essentially social, and now we've got Trump. That song has never been more relevant.
But it's like I said. Look, you could say Sam Cooke is relevant.
Yeah.
But you have to remember that these youngsters, they're not trying to hear that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I remember some people were saying about the Jay-Z album because I read a lot of the reviews. People were saying like, look, it's like a course on finance and accounting. I'm not trying to hear all that. I'm trying to have a good time.
Okay, so this isn't Hot 97, right? We're not trying to carve out a career as kind of album reviewers or whatever.
Yeah. I'm trying to tie it into business.
Yeah, but okay. So I want to move on to the next question. The reason I picked Jay-Z is also because, he has got a fair amount of media coverage with regards to his business interests, and he has branded himself as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I'm sat next to someone who labeled himself as an entrepreneur too. Right? But I noticed that fairly recently you changed your handle from entrepreneur to business nomad.
Which is funny because when Oxford, right?
Right.
You were saying like, what do you think about that?
We've done two vlogs. There was one I think in Kuala Lumpur in April where we were talking about entrepreneurism, people selling chicken wings outside the mosque. Then in Oxford I kind of pushed you a bit and I was like, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. How do you feel? Like, well, I don't really care about it. It's all good. Like, and then now it's like you're a business nomad. So what went down?
So yeah, I took on. Okay, so since Oxford, I'll tell you. Let me take. Okay, there's two positions I have on this. Okay. In terms of people wanting them to call themselves entrepreneurs, I have no problem with that. Like I said, going back to Oxford, if you want to aspire to become something, if you want a label to differentiate yourself from the 9-to-5ers or to someone that's working on the plantation from 9 to 5, that's cool. I'm completely fine with that if you want to call yourself an entrepreneur. Now talking about me. So yeah, now I've changed everything to business nomad. Reason why is because first off, I lived in the Saharan desert for 2 years. So I have this nomadic
But what does that mean? Like on the History Channel, where you go to the desert, then go back to a hotel?
No, so
like, you know,
so
when the cameras are off. Like,
so
what does
we're
that
in Kuala
mean?
Lumpur. I mean, the thing is with this vlog, you and I, we keep going back to
Okay,
London.
but when
Let
you
me
say,
finish.
no, I want to push you. When you say I lived in
You
the
haven't even
desert,
let me finish.
Yeah,
Let me
come
finish.
on to that. Before you do, what does living in the desert mean anyway for 2 years? Like, what does that mean? Like, did you poop in the sand or what?
No. So I studied the Islamic sciences there
Okay.
with my teachers who were or nomadic Bedouin scholars more before than now. It's
Okay.
sort of become sedentary, but I lived in the Saharan desert. But the reason why even the word nomad
In a
came,
tent or what?
I lived in a tent. We'll get to that. I'll get to that. That's another vlog. Let me stick to the business of this.
All right.
In terms of
Leroy of Arabia. Carry on.
that's really,
I know that's
that's not good.
that's racist.
So I took the word nomad. Reason why I said we're KL London. The next vlog we're going to do is in London because I do my speaking tour there.
Okay.
And we're going to be in London next time.
Okay.
But we're actually going to vlog again in 2 days after the conference. So because I'd like to get another. Anyway,
Okay.
because I'm moving around so much, I go, man, I'm like nomadic. Because I just came from Italy. I go from here to Greece. Oh no, I go back to Italy. I'm in Rome, to Greece, to London, to Bucharest. So I'm like, man, I'm nomadic. And I'm dealing with business. Like everywhere I go, it's...
But why business and not entrepreneur?
That's what I'm trying to get to.
Okay.
So the reason why is, over the past, like I'd say 2-3 weeks, I despise the word entrepreneur. Like, I'm sorry.
And what made you despise it?
Because I see everyone with
Hashtag
it.
entrepreneur.
Yeah, everyone is an entrepreneur. Which I have, like I said, if you want to call yourself that, perfectly fine.
Did I tell you that I was watching a comedy show on BBC Three, and there was like this spoof character who's like London Asian bloke in it, and he said, I'm an entrepreneur. Now, if you can speak like
Paneer.
Punjabi, like, you know, paneer is cheese, right? So he's like entrepreneur. Anyway, I was like kind of, yeah, I thought it was funny. So you're not even an entrepreneur.
I'm not an entrepreneur.
You're
I'm not
Asian,
an
right?
I just don't want, I don't like it. For myself, okay, let me be just completely frank. I think it's cornball for myself to call myself an entrepreneur. If people want to call me that, look, I have it on my website.
Why is it cornball?
Because it just, everyone is it now. And I've always danced to my own tune. Everyone wants to say that they're unique and different in some way, but I'm the kind of guy that, oh, everyone's doing it, I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
So I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and everyone's an entrepreneur. Some are actually killing it. And then some are, okay, what's this? But the thing is that it's everywhere. Just like when, I'm just, because he got me going with 444, DOA, when Jay-Z did the song Death of Auto-Tune. It's because he said that he started seeing it in TV commercials where they're doing hamburgers and they were using auto-tune, that he's like, this is getting out of hand.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. The word entrepreneur, it was just getting out of hand, and I wanted to differentiate myself. So I do business all over the world, different industries.
Yeah.
I'm moving around so many different places. So I just decided to go with the word or the phrase business nomad as
Businessman.
Nah, yeah.
Business.
I'm not a, what did he say? I'm not a businessman, I'm a business.
That was a
man.
Jay-Z bro. I'm
But-
not a businessman, I'm a business man. Like,
So that's the reason why
Okay.
I took that. I think it's corny for myself. I look at myself going, you're a cornball, bro. You're like everyone else. Oh yeah, but you were doing it so many years ago. It don't matter. Everyone's doing that. I don't want to do it anymore.
Did you have a Jerry curl back in the days? I did.
I had a bowl, man. I'm Asian. I had a bowl haircut like Jim Carrey and Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, man.
That's what I had.
My mum, I think when I was 7, she made me get a Jerry curl. So I can say, yeah, I had a Jerry curl like Ice Cube and NWA, but I wouldn't go back.
With the
to
Jerry curl juice, like you had the juices, like in Coming to America.
Yes.
Yeah. So you would destroy like.
TCB, yeah,
You would
yeah.
destroy-
I used to wear a pair of tights on my head going to bed, and yeah, I'd never do that again. And
But you know what? Look. I actually have a question now.
okay, would I do
Just-
the Jerry curl again?
No, actually, because we started talking about music, I don't know why. I started thinking about Kurt Cobain.
Okay.
Just right now. Nirvana, Kurt Cobain. Do you think they're a great band?
Yes.
Okay. Do they have body of work? They don't. Don't exhale. They don't have a body of work. Kurt Cobain killed himself prematurely,
Yeah.
right? Committed suicide, and that was the end of Nirvana. Here's my question. No disrespect to Nirvana, Kurt Cobain, anything.
Can I just say, I walked home for a week from school, saved my bus money, and bought a ticket to see Nirvana for like £5.60, and I was in the front row. Like, so like Nirvana is a band, is like one of my.
Yeah, but you have to admit they don't have body of work like Grateful Dead, like the Beatles.
Yeah.
Like
Soundgarden,
yeah.
Pearl Jam. Yeah.
So with that, Tupac, Biggie, Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, do you think this? I don't know if this ties into business. We could probably try to twist it in there. Do you think that when someone dies prematurely, you have the 27 group, right? Joanne Baez,
Yeah.
not Eric Clapton.
I think Hendrix wasn't
Hendrix is 27.
Yeah. What's Jim Morrison?
Morrison's 27.
There you go.
All these people are 27. They died at the age.
You're
rockers.
27.
So
He's not 27.
do you think when people die prematurely, they get immortalized and they are given more credit than ever? So look, I'm not trying to. All the people who love B.I.G. and Tupac and all that, they sort of like, oh, they're the number one rapper of all time. What I'm saying is, let's say one of these great rappers now, one of the best, Ice Cube. Ice Cube has a body of work,
Yeah.
and it's established that he was the writer for NWA.
Yeah.
Ice Cube is sometimes brought up as one of the best MCs. Like once every 10 people that are asked, Ice Cube's name will come up. If he would have died 10 years ago, do you think he would have been immortalized as one of the greats? Because he's, like I said, 1 out of 10 guys will say Ice Cube. The other 9 won't even mention his name. But if he died 10 years ago, would we be having the conversation in 2017? Kurt Cobain, like all these people who have been immortalized, Tupac. Because who knows where Tupac would have been now in 2017? Who knows where B.I.? What do you keep looking at? Who cares? We got this. You got who cares about the noise? And we're so loud and it's echoing, you don't even have to worry about it.
Okay.
I want your focus here. Do you think that
Yes,
dying
Auntie. Okay.
do you think dying at a young age immortalizes you when you don't deserve the credit? And no disrespect to the people who have died young. I've just thought about that because Ice Cube, I'm just picking on him or anyone. We could talk about someone who is considered one of the KRS-One.
Sorry, are you asking me a question or are you just having a conversation?
I'm giving a bunch of examples now, unnecessarily. Sorry.
No. Death is one of those things that people find hard to deal with, and so I guess people heap on praise to people that have gone because they want to make sense of something which kind of a lot of people can't make sense of, right? And so inevitably, if someone passes away, and if it's believed to be prematurely, then you're going to give them more accolade than perhaps they would if they were alive. But for me,
so that's how I feel.
But for me, the interesting thing is, like, you know, if we assume that this isn't going to happen to most of us in the way that it's happened to these individuals, right? We have to face some difficult situations. So I mentioned Iggy Pop. Iggy Pop's like one of the few rock stars that like kind of, he looks the same as he did years ago, right? Now the challenge, if you're a frontman, right, or like Steve Tyler's another example, Aerosmith, or I suppose Mick Jagger, you know, if you make your name as some skinny little topless thing, riding around on stage, people don't want to see you with a beer gut in 20, 30 years time because you don't evoke the same sort of memories.
Yeah.
That's the challenge for the frontman, right? Guitarists can get away with it, can hide behind a guitar or whatever. And it's also, you know, so it's growing old gracefully that is a challenge. Now, if you apply that to business, it's how does your company mature or what do you enter? And if you are somebody with different careers, like I feel sorry for like boxers and football players and because they're at the height of their game.
Yeah.
And they have to retire when essentially they're intellectually or kind of emotionally probably in their prime. Physically, you're falling off.
I don't think people retire at the top of their game. I think they retire when they're starting to decline.
No, retire intellectually. So if you think about the mental toughness that a player has in their 30s,
Okay.
right, the emotional toughness,
Yes.
right, it's different than a player when they're like 27 or 17, right? So just when you're trying to get your head around your craft and you've done the 10,000 hours and you become an expert, your body starts to give way, right? Now the challenges, I mean, and you know, it's sad. Like when I think I really wanted Usain Bolt to finish on a high, right? But
Yeah, he finished with
yeah, like Michael Johnson said, like, you know, 1 year too many, right? Now I don't think it's kind of a massive dent. Short term maybe on his legacy, but if you think about people, whether that's elite athletes or musicians or professionals, the question is, when do you know, not when to throw in the towel, but when to make your next move? Whether that's move to a next job,
Interesting.
change your career, set up a business, sell it, fold it, change your product line. You know, when do you know when to make the right decision? Now, I'm going to suggest that it's probably slightly earlier than you would think. The reason I'm saying that is because when you know,
Oh, wait, are you talking about a particular industry or just everyone across the board?
whether you've got a product line, yeah, whether
I think that's where the evolution, revolution can occur.
whether you're working for a company, right?
But that would be a different career. That's like that's
Even if it's the same career and you want to switch jobs, right? Some people switch jobs when they're on the way down, right? So it's like, you know what, I'm not going to get promoted here. There's no more opportunities. Time for me to move, right?
Okay.
So you have no options here. So you move. So the idea is that when you see a market decline or an opportunity decline,
Yeah.
you then move into a new pasture. That is a mistake, right? You should be moving or making moves and preparing beforehand. So if I take, we'll put companies to one side, we'll talk about people, right? If I think about my dad, he worked in the National Health Service, he was a pathologist.
Okay.
He didn't have a CV for like decades, right? Because he didn't need to. At that time, right, people stayed in a job, I think it was there for like, in one
Yeah.
position for like 25, 30 years or whatever, right? So he didn't need a CV. Now, we're not in that era now. No job is for life. So everyone is in this kind of LinkedIn generation where you could be in a job for 2-3 years and then you've got to move. Now, if you don't have your CV on ice, right, if you're not doing things which don't, if you have to do things that your employer requires you to do in order for you to do your job,
yeah.
but you also have to invest in yourself, ready for your next move.
Okay.
Now, if you just follow your job description, right, then you're not going to necessarily make yourself attractive to the next employer because the things that employers want now is like, well, do you vlog or do you write articles or like, you know, all these things which your current employer may not want you to do because they say, we've got the tasks here, you need to do these things. But there should be a selfish element where it's like, you know, I always think to myself, I try and set 1 hour aside a day to dream. And in that 1 hour, this is the hour when, whether that's a speculative email to a company or writing an article or thinking about things or doing a bit of research, it's not going to pay off in the short term, but in the long term it will. So halal was one of those things. 10 years ago, I thought, I'm just interested in this and who knows what could happen.
Yeah.
10 years later, well, it's kind of, you know, that crop is ready to be harvested, right?
Yeah.
So I think that we started off in music and we've moved into kind of business and now we're moving on to the individual. But I think there was a common thread, and that common thread is knowing when to up your game and when to push forward and trailblaze and then when to make a switch, not throw in the towel. People always say, oh, you know, I tried this.
No, so let me cut you off. I remember, I don't know, you guys need to research this, but he was very convincing at the time when I was in university. My professor, it was the psychology of testing and measurement.
Okay.
And he said, with just conviction, that if you have a job as an employee, you should always change job every 7 years. And he gave all this proof of the number 7. Why it's good for you. America's phone numbers are all 7 numbers. Like there were so many things that he said, the reason why 7 is such a great number. And he talked about the career of the person, and this was how many years ago? Now we have the internet, you have all that information. If you're listening to this, Google that. Like when should someone change their career? And it's the number 7. But that was some time ago.
7
is too long.
Yeah, I think half that. 3.5 years.
How do people look at? I mean, I haven't.
3.5 years.
I haven't had a job in. I've been fired I haven't had a job since like 10 years ago. So hold on.
He's probably going to fire himself from his own vlog. The
Is
OCD
3.5 career? Is 3.5 years too short of a career to have that like on a CV? You think?
No.
You don't think that's too much? Like what happened here? So how do you explain that then to?
How does Jose Mourinho explain?
Who's that?
Current football manager for Manchester United.
Oh yeah, okay.
Right. If you work hard and you demonstrate results and you take that elsewhere, then I mean, like I think when I started in advertising. Okay,
But doesn't that show the employer, like, you know, I'm going to hire this person, I'm going to train this person, invest so much time and money into this person, resources, and then they just go up and leave like 2 years?
Let's be real about this. 3.5 years is quite a long time. Is a long time. even if you invest in someone, if you're making them money or helping them save money and you hit the targets and you exceed expectations.
If you guys agree with this or disagree, I want to actually hear what people say. I think,
if it's all good,
I don't know, because I haven't been
okay,
in
if it's all good, if you want to stay for another 3.5 years and make it 7, it's got to be a different job title. I mean, because then if a good way is look on LinkedIn and people that you respect or admire and look at their career paths, right? And I'm pretty sure.
But if someone's, let's say, is a pathologist and they look at your fathers and it shows that 20 years, 10 years, then it gives them the wrong indicator of what to do, right?
Yeah, but within that, if you look at LinkedIn as an example, how do you describe in a paragraph what you've done for 10 years? It's the same amount of words as if you've been somewhere for 3.5 years, or the same amount of words if you've been somewhere 1.5 years. You can't then
just
say,
have more accolades. It's just more punchy, I think.
You can't write a long list of things for 10 years, so you can't do 10 years justice.
No, but you do. You write probably the most punchy, most potent things, right?
So
if you're 3.5, you're sort of stretching it.
So in a LinkedIn generation, whether you're somewhere 3 years, 7 years, 2 years, it all looks the same. It's a badge, it's a brand, it's an identity. It's like, what have you done? Move on to the next thing. If you are going to stay in the same company, then you need a different job title. Because, as I was saying, the people that when I've looked at profiles, the people that I admire and respect, the trailblazers, they get promoted fast.
Yeah,
so when
they're-
everyone else says like, I was a junior lecturer for 10 years, and then I was an associate professor for 20 years, and then I became professor. You think, wow, mad respect and love, and you should have respect for them.
Yeah.
But then when you see like some dude that's like, or dudette, that's like 5 years lecturer, 3 years associate professor, and then professor, where there's an there is an exit velocity from each. Then you're like, okay, well then I know that they must be doing something pretty special, because the other person there took 30 years, and you've taken a third of the time. So unfortunately, it's a competitive marketplace, right? We are all judged according to each other, because all of our profiles are being put into one database, right? So I think that,
I think 3.5 years. I don't know. Like I said, I think
you don't work for anybody.
Yeah.
So what do you know?
That's true. It just seems. You'd be the one. You're the professor. You're the one. I mean, people are coming to you, 19-year-olds, 22-year-olds, are like, Prof, can you help me with my future?
The reality
this
is
the
this.
advice you're giving, because you're.
Actually, the reality is this. It's not even within your hands. Like when I say, think 3.5 years, I know lots of people in supposedly safe industries getting laid off. Right? Getting made redundant, having to reapply for their jobs, having to submit CVs for the things that they're already doing. Where they
So how do you stay on top of your game? This could be another vlog. How do you think people should stay on the top of the game so that when that inevitability of being laid off 3.5, 4, 5 years from now comes, you're not like, because they have ageism, right? Ageism is a problem.
Okay.
How does someone stay fresh? How does someone stay at the top of their game? What do you think they should do?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you 2 things, right? Because otherwise it's going to become another vlog or whatever.
Okay.
We'll make another vlog out of it. 2 things. Number 1, my CV is always on ice. I probably look at my CV every 2 months, and I think, how can I make it better? What can I add, and how can I make it better? Right? And I've continued to do that for several years, for like a good decade now. That's been kind of the discipline that, and you're always going to find, like, I could use less words, or I could change the punctuation, or I've done something else, but to have it ready on ice, because you never know who you're going to bump into, right?
Sure.
And more often than not, you want to have something which you've checked over time, so there are no mistakes. The worst thing you can do is see a job that you want, and then have to rush to meet the deadline, and then everything is last minute, and then you say, it will do. And the CV is like one of the few things you're supposed to boast and brag about, right? If you're not shouting your own praises, then who's going to do it for you? So, being ready with the CV. The second thing is actually looking at other people's CVs or profiles on LinkedIn, right? You have to know what's going on in the market. So that comes down to benchmarking, right? So if you want to know how good you are or how to sell yourself, look at how other people communicate what skills they have. If you don't have those skills, go and get them.
Okay, that's what I was going to
And so I remember, like,
can I cut you?
Yeah, go on.
Because I thought you had a good point. And I think I saw your LinkedIn post, and a lot of people were actually giving it a lot of action, was you having your students do YouTube vlogs or videos, right?
Yeah.
And the response, I read some of the comments. Could you elaborate on that? Because I thought that was pretty cool. Because I saw And these were, I think, comments from people who are your peers, and like, wow, this is really cool. What was that? Like,
well, I think that, there are a couple of things I do with my students. One of them was, and I'm coming from someone who's trying to break through, right? And fight stereotypes. And I don't want to kind of moan, but I'm pretty unusual and exotic. I'm a minority within minorities. To be an academic, right? To be some black Muslim academic in the field of marketing, where most of the professors are male and white, is tough, right? So you've got to find ways to kind of.
You have what's that? The acronym BAME?
BAME, yeah. Black, Asian, minority, ethnic.
That's in right. England. You guys use that.
Yeah. You'd be a Blasian, right? Black and Asian. Right? So I thought, how can I get people to see, like, or to verify what it is that I do, right? Because if people are asking for your reference, then you normally get asked for your references when you've been offered the job. So how do you even get shortlisted, or how do you even get interviewed? So I use LinkedIn as one of those things. Right? I've got like about 90 recommendations on LinkedIn. I don't know many people, not skills tip, but like 90. That took a bit of work. I've got 90 recommendations. I
have three. What do they call the skills? Like +3, +6
recommendations. Your mom, please take him out of my house. Like, please put this guy on the map, right? Please send him. Like, please, you just go from country to country.
My dad, hire him. He needs a job. But anyway, so you did this with the YouTube videos with your students.
Oh, the videos, right? The videos are about this, right? Where I thought we do a lot of in-class presentations in business degrees.
Okay.
And I call that dead content, because once someone has performed that presentation and they've got a grade for it, it's forgotten. And I thought, so how do you get people to get extra value out of that? If they are videoing something, and then in videoing it, rather than video a live presentation, make it into a documentary, upload it onto YouTube. Once it's got its mark, and it's good actually for.
So it's a presentation. Okay, look, I'm trying to understand. You had them record their presentation. I don't understand how it was done.
I told them they could do whatever they want. They could either do a static presentation in front of a camera, or their own.
So this was at home or in class?
Wherever they want. I watched the YouTube video. If they want to do it in class,
interesting.
They want to do a static presentation, or if they want to go. I had some people.
So that's why all the comments were like, "Wow, Prof, this is great. I'm going to do this."
I had people on the beach in the Canary Islands, people in the snow in Bulgaria, like people like doing their.
So this is what you're talking about in terms of skill set.
Their coursework in the holidays. Normally people like go home and don't work in the holidays. These people are like, I'm going to do some coursework in the holidays because I'm going back to my home country. They would do a documentary, and then they would present it to me. It would get a mark. It's perfect for marking, because then I can transparently show to external moderators, examiners, like, this is best practice. And one of the hiccups for assessments like this is always like, how do you know that person got the mark on merit? Because it's never recorded, right? This is on the table. And the extra benefit is that I then encourage students to put it on their profiles as part of their job application, because.
So what would they put? What was the phrase you gave them to put on their?
Well, actually, there was one where there was one student, and she wanted an internship for an advertising agency in Dubai.
Okay.
And I said, you should show them the YouTube video. She's a little bit shy, and you know who you are, right? So I knew that there was I knew somebody at the ad agency in Dubai. Through LinkedIn, I hit them up and said, you know what? I know one of my students wants to do an internship here. She's a bit shy, but I quite like this video. Take a look. They looked at the video and they offered her an internship. She's in London, they're in Dubai.
See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Trailblazing, being innovative, setting yourself away from the bunch. I kept seeing the word entrepreneur. I'm like, I don't want to be that, because I don't want. And you're saying, I want to produce students who go into the workforce that are different from the group, right? And that's a YouTube skill.
Do you know what's even better than that? Is like, this year I went to Portugal. Matilda, how you doing? Right? Because
the woo.
Shout out. Because she was an old student, and she put me on. I spoke at a conference, and she recommended that I speak at this conference on technology.
Cool.
Robots and humans, it was, right?
How much money you make?
but to me, that's cool. How many professors, right? Yeah. And she hasn't been graduated for that long, only a couple of years, right? How many professors can say that their students graduate, remember them, give an ish about them, and then recommend them?
You've brought value. And I think that's the thing, right? Is that as a professor, these are just not students, get out of my class, who's the next group, you know, and you're drinking your coffee during break time or during your break or during your summer or spring break. You're actually trying to, how can I have my students be of tremendous value so that when they go into the workforce, they're punching above their weight?
Tremendous value to me is that, I mean, I look at it like this, right? It's the start.
YouTube skills is dope, man.
It's the start of the journey, right?
Yeah.
So basically, I'm trying to, what I say to my students is this: I'm training you as best as I can, and I want you to become better than me, and I want you to employ me in a few years' time.
Ooh, that's some Bruce Lee stuff right there.
But that's the thing.
I mean, a true master wants his student to surpass him. A true master.
Apart from the kung fu movies where the master's always going to pull one trick out of the bag and
I didn't teach you this one.
Yeah, I didn't teach you this one. But no, I genuinely, because I don't want to be doing the same job in 20 years' time, right?
Gotcha.
There's kind of two types of managers. There's managers that hire people
But you do that, man.
that are dumber than them, right?
Yeah.
So that they're never challenged. And there are ones that want to put people on the map because they don't want to do the same job again. I want to be replaced.
Because you said something when we were, I don't know where we were. Was it Madrid or where were we hanging at? And you said something, you know what, I want to do cool-ish.
Yeah.
And I thought that was I don't like but okay, I was gonna say epic, but it was actually sort of actually epic to me because it was that moment that, you know, I'm happy with what I'm doing because I'm all about happy money.
Yeah.
Right. And you have this kind of like, I just want to hang out with smart people. I want to hang out with cool people who have cool ideas, people who got juice, people who are pushing me, and I go, man, I'm the same way. And that's why we always teamed up, because I think that's how we teamed up. But I want to go back to your students thing, and just to emphasize that in this vlog is that value.
Yeah.
When you as an employee can go into the workforce, provide value to a potential employer, like, yeah, I've done YouTube videos, I do vlogs. Us vlogging, we've done how many? I'm doing all these vlogs by myself in front of like 20 people watching and staring at me because they just want to see what I'm doing.
That's true.
But you've noticed our skills with the camera have gotten better.
Mine haven't.
They've had to have. They've probably improved. I know that I want to stay away from
Yeah.
I want to look dead into the camera lens instead of looking into the screen.
Yeah.
These are key skills that practice and preparation prevents poor performance. So when you get hit with the BBC camera and they want to interview you, and we've been doing vlogs, I could look into the camera in an inanimate object, look straight into the lens, and give a very vibrant, lively interview.
So that's
a skill set, dude.
So that's why in your first vlogs you used to wear shades.
I wanted a Ray-Ban per soul deal, but with my 3 views for every vlog, it's not working, and I don't care. I actually vlogged about why I started vlogging and my terrible view rate when I was in Milan. Okay. And I'm gonna release that. That actually will come out before this one because I have a whole bunch of backlog. But this has been it was a good conversation, man. Anything you wanna like throw in there? Any point you wanna make before we wrap this up? See, I'm not concerned about time anymore, because people have been inboxing me and messaging me going, you guys just need to keep talking. And it's this barbershop, one person says barbershop talk that they like. Just having the freestyle thoughts roll out. Things related to business, things related to development.
Actually, before we close, I want to open it back up again, right?
Okay.
I got 2 questions. The first one is simple.
Okay.
You go on YouTube and you look at the song While My Guitar Gently Weeps by George Harrison, right? Last time we vlogged, I spoke about George Harrison because I was going to Bangladesh.
Yeah.
And there were 2 versions of solos. There was the Eric Clapton version and the Prince version.
Yeah.
Which one is your favorite, Prince or Eric Clapton?
It's interesting, man, because when Prince died, it like went viral again, right? After he died. So it's hard for me to say this, why I prefer. I'll tell you why I prefer one and why I don't prefer it, and vice versa. The range that Prince had in his performance, he went funk metal, like he was just thrashing. And I think it's because, wait, hold on. I think it's because he had something to prove, because he was snubbed. I think it was Billboard who considered like the top 100 guitarists of all time. Okay. And he wasn't there, I think, in 2006.
Right.
And 2004. And I think George Harrison's memorial service or whatever, where they did that, where they were inducted into the Hall of Fame, he wanted to show you guys made a mistake. And this is where I think personal branding comes into place, because in the minds of people, he has this androgynous, very sexy.
That was going to be my next question.
His symbol. He's remembered in the minds of people as someone who's flashy, someone who is eccentric, and people forgot about his skill. And I believe in 2010, Billboard revised it, or Guitar, or one of the guitar magazines revised it and put him like at 31 or 33. Okay. Because they realized it of his brilliance because he showed them. So in terms of performance, now you're talking about the showmanship, because the showmanship through the guitar and it's crazy, man. It's showmanship. There's no comparison.
Yeah.
However, I'll tell you why I prefer Clapton over Prince. Listen to hold on. Listen to the title. My guitar gently weeps. What is the tone? What is Harrison presenting in that song? It's not a jamming song. It's about it's not a high.
Well,
it's not a high energy song. Prince ripped it. He killed it, and I love it for that. But in terms of staying within the boundaries of that,
his little kind of Liza Minnelli haircut.
Yeah, I mean, he was wearing red instead of purple. You know, I mean, the guy had his backside in one of the interviews. I mean, that's how he gets remembered by. But the reason why I like Clapton was because he actually matches the tone that Harrison presented that song to the world with.
Okay.
It's you know what I'm saying? It matches the tone.
Because no, I feel you on that. I think you made a valid point, and you kind of.
My guitar gently weeps. It's not. I mean, Prince was jamming, dude. He was doing this thing. So that's what I have to say. And that's actually, I want to end with this. Is that it, or?
Well, you kind of answered the second question, which was going to be like, Prince is a great example of a personal brand.
Yeah.
Do you think he went wrong in any way? Because
absolutely not.
Because linked to that question, you said that people forgot.
Yeah.
That he was a good guitarist. And,
yeah.
And surely his core competence and function is to deliver music, right?
Yeah.
Not necessarily all the other stuff like the clothes and the squiggle. He wasn't a fashion designer, he's not, so do you think that those things got in the way? He was too
absolutely
loud.
Not, absolutely not. Because I never met the man, but they said he was a diva.
Yeah.
He lived the life he wanted to live. He would throw shade and make you feel bad about yourself because that's just how he is. And artists and creatives are like that. Artists and creatives are people whose art is created from their emotions. Yeah. So I'll take a leap and even say that creatives, artists are probably more emotional than the regular person, because that's how their art is generated, through their emotion, right? Through looking at clouds and being at the beach and experiencing pain of a breakup and, okay, let me paint.
All right, so to finish, if you could listen to 3 Prince songs now, the ones that you're feeling now, give me 3 Prince songs. No. Give me 3 Prince songs.
Oh, When Doves Cry.
Yeah.
Because, I mean...
Oh, yeah.
The top 3 songs of Prince, come on, man. Okay, When Doves Cry. Do I really have to give this to you?
Yeah. Do you prefer Prince's or Alia's version? Or Aaliyah? Aaliyah. I kind of Islamified her name. Oh, Aaliyah!
No. When Doves Cry, Purple Rain. And it's funny, but this may be, I actually like Diamonds and Pearls.
Okay.
But he was such a prolific writer, dude. Do you know how many songs he wrote for people? He wrote, Sinead O'Connor is a...
Nothing compares.
He wrote that.
Yeah.
And okay, before we end, the 27...
He did a version which kind of sounds almost like a bit Bill and Ted's. It's got the...
If you look at Prince's career, if you Google it, how many songs he wrote. He wrote Shaka Khan's song, I Feel For You. Feel For You. He wrote that. Prince has a... So when you're saying, do you think he... No. I think he lived the life on his own terms. He was taking painkillers because his hips, because he was performing. And when he got snubbed, he showed them, look, this is what you guys missed. And people were like, whoa. Tom Petty, all them were just like, dude, take it. Because you're ripping it right now. So I think the guy was actually an exemplification. Is that the word? Exemplification? I don't even know if I just... of living life on your own terms. The guy really was blazing. No one's ever come up with their backside showing at an awards program, you know? You had Charlie Murphy do a whole segment on him because he used to play basketball. He literally
Computer Blue.
He lived life on his own terms, and I think with that, you can see that he...
You have to check that sketch, Charlie Murphy and Prince playing basketball. It was like, in your face, Charlie Murphy. It was
actually really good. But, no, I think in terms of, I think he was living life on his own terms. A lot of us can't do that. And that's what I strive to do, is, like I said, happy money.
Okay.
A lot of people making money, they're not happy. A lot of people with no money that are happy. So to end with the personal branding thing, it depends on what you want to achieve. That's the question when people ask me, what do you want to achieve? And I think he was trying to achieve, which was, I'm an artist.
Yeah.
Because he was a songwriter, he was a performer, he was a dancer, he was everything. He wasn't just, I only write songs.
Yeah.
I only play guitar. Clapton, when you think of guitar, you think Clapton, you think Hendrix, right? But I think he was just more of an artist. He changed his name to a symbol. He had all these beautiful women around him. He had orchestra. He was just different.
Yeah.
And I think, that's what made his greatness, man. And now we realize the greatness we were in the presence of once he dies. And that ties into what you were saying. But
so that's a nice nebulous. Thanks very much. I'm going to round up as well. Bro.
Good stuff, man. Thanks for tuning in, man.